Town of Gawler, some of you hopefully know where that is. It's just north of metropolitan Adelaide. We are at the sort of the peri-urban environment of just part of Metro Adelaide, but actually more part of the lower mid-north. We have a strong association with the northern communities in our region, Roseworthy and Light and the Barossa. And just before I go on to a couple of my slides, I'd just like to say that local government as a sector is very much here as part of the solution. We're challenging ourselves in terms of, well, what is our role in terms of employment, not only directly but indirectly. And I certainly am confident that as a sector that we are here to not only continue with our more conventional roles, but then be contemporary in as many different fields as we can to help employment outcomes, which is why we're all here. In terms of Gawler as a growth area, we are experiencing significant growth. Population expansion is very much at not only what we are seeing at the higher levels in the state, but also at a national level. And the most recent ABS statistics quantify that from the September 2015-16 period that we're actually up around the 2.6 mark, which is one of the fastest growing areas in the state. Just to give you a bit of a picture of that growth, it's occurring around all of our boundaries in the south, in the east and the north, and we're expecting over the next decade or so anywhere between 20 and 30,000 people forming part of our community. We see ourselves very much as part of a region. We're an active participant in the Barossa Regional Development Board area, and Anne Moroney, who's here today, has helped me with some of the statistics and information that we have, but it's very much a regional approach to what is a state problem. So we are in that immediate area that's affected by the closure of Holden's. We have some 90 or so families, employees that will be affected by the closure or have already or will be affected as of October when it does close. So how do we as a local government entity react? How do we work with government, state and federal? And how can we be part of that solution? As I mentioned, we are part of that Northern Barossa RDA and works very well in terms of thinking collectively and then trying to see how we as a region can use our competitive advantages to produce and provide for employment outcomes. So just quickly, the manufacturing area provides some 18% of employment outcomes, health and community services 13, agriculture, forestry and fishing at 11, retail, education and training. In terms of the challenges, it's about technology, and the town of Gawler has over recent years sought to present itself as a local example of how we should be using technologies to transform our business, and how local business can look to us as again, examples on how they can look to change their business operations using technology. But in terms of some of the other challenges, it's obviously, and I'm sure throughout the regions you are finding some of these similar examples, but the changing face of retail is certainly something that's challenging for us. I've already spoken about Holden's closure, transport limitations, the hard-to-fill jobs in meat processing and horticulture, and unfortunately some weak evidence in the innovation and creativity in the business models that exist out there. Again, so council has sought to position itself, the town of Gawler, and I know other councils, position itself to demonstrate to small to medium-sized businesses how in fact it can embrace technology to generate efficiencies, find new ways to engage with customers and then improve services. In terms of the workforce priorities for Gawler and the region, and again I'd like to thank Anne Moroney for her help in this regard, interpersonal communication skills of younger members of our community, teamwork and problem solving. How do we get the youth to engage in the aged care workforce? the high technology needs in the areas of horticulture, engineering and technical services in the defence industries, redesigning hard-to-fill jobs, English language proficiencies in the agricultural workers, as we've just heard, hospitality and the need for skilled workforces, horses, the horse industry. We've actually got quite a strong industry in that sector, and more than happy to talk to you about some contacts that we have. And then the basic skills of maths, science and technology. In terms of adapting skills, workforces, again, I'm sure some of these are examples of what you find in your own areas. Skill sets and range of career options, problem solving and technical knowledge, critical thinking and conceptual skills, core trade skills with options for specialisation, sales and marketing, thinking capabilities and transferable skills. And then moving on to smart cities, smart communities. So Council over the last 2 or 3 years has been active in this space. We were an early rollout for the NBN, and so felt it more than appropriate that we, in terms of meeting community expectations, that we question how we were doing our business, and then to demonstrate how we can improve our services. So, had a look at our online business model. We looked at video conferencing. We looked about how can technology improve the walkability of our community? How can we improve public safety? Bringing places together. We were successful in receiving $5.6 million from the federal government as part of a rebuild of our town hall and civic centre, which was very much about the new technology, about the digital economy, about creating a business innovation hub, which I'll speak to in a moment, and then how we can not only look locally but look globally in terms of engaging with a whole range of opportunities. So our town hall, 2 state heritage buildings on our main street, was in desperate need of restoration, was an opportunity waiting to be presented, and we put together a package, went to the federal government, and were fortunate in receiving, back in 2015, $5.6 million to then undertake a $13 million rebuild of our Town Hall Civic Centre, and a key element of which is about employment outcomes. The federal government, as I'm sure you appreciate, don't give money to councils to restore buildings, but give money to councils to assist in investment and job outcomes. Part of that then was the formulation of a digital smart cities strategy, which we worked through and identified some pillars in terms of what that would comprise, and you may not be able to read that, but the first principle was digital first, the second principle was the green economy, the third principle was smart shopping, the fourth principle was smart precincts, the fifth principle was digital vibrancy, and the sixth principle was the digital consumer. There's a lot more detail with respect to what those principles comprise in terms of how we as an organisation internally re-engineered how and what we were doing things, and the presentation will be made available so you can look at that at your leisure, but it certainly is a process that you need to not only talk to internal customers but external customers, which is what we've done. In terms of integrating a smart city approach to what we do and how we do things, it was all about what is our value proposition, and it's about we are here to advocate, to drive efficiencies and effectiveness, to see technology as an enabler, to use technology to better communicate with our customers, to help technology to educate not only ourselves but the community, to work with business, to look at service delivery models, and to, as I said, tap into the NBN and also the SaberNet system, which we have fortunately an opportunity to do so. So the project, going back to our civic centre redevelopment. Again, it's not about restoration for the sake of it, but very much about employment outcomes. So the key components in that regard is creating a youth space, so tapping into our youth community, working with them, tapping into their enthusiasm, and for example, that's now starting up a community radio station, which is very much driven by our youth. The Business Innovation Hub. It's very much about how can we create an environment where startups, other practitioners can come together in an environment that's conducive to entrepreneurs thinking and working together. We've got a strong heritage in Gawler, but how can we use heritage history to create investment and create jobs? So Council is establishing within this new complex a gallery, a heritage gallery, and looking at how we can take that heritage and our history to the world. Multifunctional space, so we're relaunching our institute building and seeking to have a raft of corporate, community-based events within that with a strong arts flavour. And we also tapped into the need to work with particularly struggling cohorts in our community, and so are looking at establishing a social enterprise cafe. And we'll be going out to market to seek some partners in the delivery of that project. So this is obviously one example of local government reflecting, seeing how it can make a contribution to employment outcomes, the timing of which relevant to the closure of holdings was significant, but it's very much about how we can act regionally, and some of these facilities will be very much part of a regional solution. And we work very well with our neighbouring councils, and again through the RDA. So this goes back to, again, a couple of years of working in this space where we've received funding and pursued opportunities, and we're involved in the Digital Local Government Program. We have a series of portals which are targeted to the youth, the age and the business community. Obviously we've had introduction of corporate Wi-Fi with online planning, online engagement forums, and a whole raft of other small initiatives. There's no silver bullet in this regard. It's about chipping away at what we can do. Recently we sat down with a group of our leaders within our organisation and put together the list of small, medium, large-scale projects that we're undertaking, that again we are proud of, but that where we can, we talk to our local business community and demonstrate to them that it is about technology. If you are wanting to save every penny that you can, as we all are, then we're seeking to demonstrate that technology, again, is an important enabler. Some further initiatives that we've been involved with and will be looking towards using technology to drive improvements in our services and to demonstrate to the community, the business community, that there are some economic and employment outcomes to be achieved in this regard. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and if you have any questions on what we're doing at Town of Gawler, don't hesitate to have a chat. Thank you.